you so much for being here this morning. And today we are going and moving forward with Success is Our Duty. So who read this chapter? Raise your hand. If you read this chapter. Zach, yes, please. I'd love to hear from you. Good morning.
The one that, I've kind of had for a while that he said, it just kind of resonated was, it's, am I living to my full potential? So I measure success for me now. It's not by the things that happen, that's just part of the process of what we do as agents. If you get a big sale, small sale, I don't measure success like that anymore. For me, it's the internal, and he kind of hit it again, and I kind of lost track a little bit of it. Am I to my full potential? And everybody knows, this is where this chapter was like, just be honest to yourself. Like, if you're living to your full potential or not. I mean, you can look superficially and look from the outside, people look and like, oh my gosh, you're doing so great. Deep down if you're living your full potential or not.
Zach, thank you for saying that, because I do have something I'd like to add to that, because what you're saying is so true. And when we get out of integrity with our full potential and who we are behind the closed door versus who we are in public, it creates anxiety within us. And it creates within us the motivation to make an excuse. It creates within us the motivation to be critical of others. Because what happens when we're not being true to ourselves and we're putting out something to the world that is in fact not valid, then we feel like that we can't show up in a space in front of other people with the way that we really are. Is that making sense to anybody? And so what happens is we get on this wheel, and this is not part of Grant Cardone's, this is just a little bit of Becky wisdom here, if you guys want to hear some of that. What I have found in my life is that if I don't show up, if I'm showing up for other people and encouraging them and holding them accountable to their potential and their targets, and yet at the same time behind closed doors, I'm not holding myself accountable to that same thing, I begin to get into a realm of anxiety. And then that causes me to have overwhelm. Overwhelm comes from anxiety, from us not living into our divine connection with ourselves. Right? So exactly what you're saying, Zach, is so, so true. I love that. And it's so true. And guys, reading this book, The 10X Rule, doesn't mean that you have to be like a massive Grant Cardone follower and you have to kind of follow and really absorb everything he believes and everything he feels. The reason that we have this call around books is because these books get you to think. And they get you to think about whether you agree or disagree. And then they require you to really understand why you agree or disagree. And then you apply those principles to your life. So understand that the 10X rule is not, we're not doing this so that you agree with everything that's in this book. What we're doing it is to make you really have some time in your life, 30 minutes of every day that you dedicate to your own self-development, to ask yourself different questions and how you want to get real and get right with yourself. I love James Shaw says that all the time. It's time to get real and get right. Right? All right, you guys ready to go through this chapter? Awesome. Yes. All right, I have 3 things that I want to really focus on today that I would like for you to jot down, and it's my 3 takeaways. And some of these are going to involve questions, and here's what I want to do. I want to give you my gratitude right now for you guys raising your hand and being so quick to speak up in this, because I know that you guys are way smarter than I am, and collectively we're smarter than all of one person. And so everything anyone has to say is something we want to hear, and it's going to elevate all of us. We are a rising tide, we ride together. So here's the first thing. Success is your duty. It's an ethical obligation. Now, when I first heard him say this and say it was an ethical obligation, my mind around ethics went to, okay, well, ethical means, am I telling the truth? Am I doing this? So I was like, wait a minute, I don't know about this, right? I mean, that was the first thing that I actually did think. And then when I started digging down into it, these 3 points tied it up in a bow for me about the duty being your obligation. Number 1, here's the first thing I want you to get. It's okay to say you wanted something that didn't happen. It's okay to say you wanted something and it didn't happen. Man, this hit me across the head like a 2x4. It's okay. And I'm like, okay, in my coaching, I want to make sure that I've given the agents that I coach, I want to make sure they know it's okay to say something didn't happen. Because here's what happens when we are not okay with failing or not achieving a target. We begin to justify the failure. And then we begin to minimize the value of success and make excuses. So what is the ultimate issue with not allowing ourselves to be okay with failure? I finally got this on a molecular level. When people say, I don't like to fail, what they're really saying is I don't like to fail. So therefore, if I don't reach a target, I don't want to give an excuse why I didn't hit that target. And so therefore, I'm just not going to do it anyway. But when we give ourselves permission to say, you know what, my target was 20 million and I hit 15. And the reason I hit 15 was because of the choices that I made throughout the year to do some things differently. And based on that, I hit 15 million. Right? Am I happy with it? No, I'm not happy with it. Am I going to do things differently the next time? Yes, I will. But I wanted it to happen and it didn't happen. And it's okay. And not be in judgment of yourself about that. Does this resonate with anybody? Does this like hit a pressure valve and give you some relief? I want to hear from somebody about this concept. Jim.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes, it did resonate with me. I think that sometimes, you've always had to chase me with, did you get your goals written down? Do you have your business plan done? And being a former Mike Ferry disciple, I've been in coaching a lot. I've learned a lot. I learn every day. I think that's one of the best habits to have. I'm curious about everything in our world of real estate and finance and what's going on around the world, et cetera. But it's interesting. I never really thought about it like that. But I'm thinking that definitely struck a chord with me. It's like, geez, if I didn't write it down and I didn't have it, like, great, I had a pretty good year last year. I didn't get where I wanted to be, but yet it was a loosey-goosey kind of a goal maybe. And certainly not, written down and broken down all the way down to the one thing that I need to do today. And, I know what my handicaps are, and it's hard to, I'm trying to figure out what is it? What is that block in my head? Why can't I do that? And it's not for the lack of knowing how. It's not for the lack of unbelievably talented coaches in my life. I'm looking at one right now. And the people I surround myself with, everyone at our office, it's so I have all those things going right. So what is it? What is that block? Trying to figure it out. And I don't mind putting that out there. And I'm sure there's a lot of people on this call that say, yeah, sometimes it's that guy in the mirror that just gets in the way. And with the grace of God and all your help, I'll figure it out and we'll continue to be successful together.
Jim, first of all, thank you for being vulnerable on this call. Can we give Jim like a high five, love, heart, whatever? Thank you for being vulnerable on this call, because that's what this is all about, is breaking through. Here's what you do by saying no, being okay with saying you didn't hit the target. Without making excuses, you have just accepted responsibility for the fact that maybe it was a loosey-goosey target and I really didn't have a plan to actually hit that target. Maybe I didn't understand what my one thing was. And now I'm going to focus on working towards that so that I can actually know the steps I need to take to hit my target. See what just came out of that? By saying I'm okay with the fact that I didn't hit, or not saying I'm okay with it, but to say that what I wanted to happen didn't happen, he took responsibility for why it didn't happen and knows what he needs to do differently going forward. When we don't say, hey, it's okay to say I wanted it and it didn't happen, when we start making excuses, then we also look at other people and we run into the second point I want to make, which is there are no overnight successes. There are no overnight successes. Now, this is important because when you don't just come out and say, well, what I wanted to happen didn't happen, and then take personal responsibility for it and put a plan in place to reach that goal, you then look at other people and you start making excuses for their success. Oh, well, they're just the newest and the brightest thing right now, and everybody thinks they're awesome. Or I know I've never said that, but that rolled off my tongue pretty quickly. So let's just go ahead and say I have said that. Okay. And they're just lucky, or they had rich parents, or they had poor parents, or, they were born in the United States, or they're an immigrant, or whatever. We start assigning excuses to other people's success because we're not comfortable with saying, hey, it didn't happen. I failed, and I failed because of me, because I didn't do what was necessary to make it happen. And guess what? I'm going to change it and move on. So number 2, there are overnight successes. What changes in our mindset when we tell ourselves that someone else's success is because they're lucky, or that they're in the right place at the right time, or all these excuses? What changes in our mindset when we say that about someone else? Karen.
That makes it not available to me.
Oh my goodness, mic drop. Tell me more about that.
I've been listening to this book for a couple months and reading, so I'm not sure which chapter this is in.
It's okay.
But it really resonated with me, thinking if someone else has it or someone else is successful, then I'm not. And I saw this played out in my boys. I have men now, but when they were little, the youngest was a math whiz, and the oldest could define any word without reading a dictionary. And so the oldest decided, I'm not the math guy, even though he was winning awards. And I was like, that's what I do too. If I see someone so successful for the reasons that you just gave, I think, well, then that's not available to me.
So true. I love that, Karen. What an insightful comment. That's an insightful comment, that's not available to me. So if we give that onto someone else's success, then we're removing it for it being an opportunity for us. I love that. I love that. Anybody else, any other comments on that? That was awesome. So yes, I wrote down a couple notes. We justify why we haven't reached our targets, which I've already talked about. We change our plan prematurely. So when we look at someone else and we say they're an overnight success, or they're doing this thing to be successful, then what we do is we change our plan to match someone else's. But the problem with that is we haven't done everything they did for all these years to get where they are right now. And so we end up just kind of grabbing this and grabbing that, and let's change our plan and do this. Guys, I'm so guilty of this. Oh my goodness. Because it's hard. We're so trained to look at the bright, shiny diamond and emulate it, right? The other thing is that we make excuses for ourselves, for sure. All right, so I want to go for my last thing, and number 3 is success is an ethical and moral obligation. So we started out here with number one. For you note takers, I want to make sure I did this. Number one, it's okay to say you wanted something to happen that didn't happen. Two, there are no overnight successes. And number three, success is an ethical and moral obligation. I'm going to read the bottom of 29 to you, and it will go to the top of 30, and this is how we're going to close out our day. So the bottom of 29, success comes about as a result of mental and spiritual claims to own it, mental and spiritual, followed by taking necessary actions over time until it is acquired. Okay, so with the last, in 2020, I kept saying, if it's to be, it's up to me. If it's to be, it's up to me. Here's another clue of something else that I love, another bold law that I love, is that your success is time on task over time. Time, if you're going to write an equation, like a division equation, it's time on task. So write the word time on task and then put a line underneath it. And then underneath it, write over time. This shows up in Grant Cardone, taking necessary actions over time until it is required. If you approach it with any less gusto than your ethical and moral duty, obligation, and responsibility to your family, to your company, your future, you will most likely not create it and have even more difficulty keeping it, right? Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. Our definition of ethics includes being honest, right? Or being not stealing money or telling the truth or doing the right thing. But guys, I love this, what Grant says. He says, perhaps it should be expanded. And it should even include the notion that we are required to live up to the potential with which we've been blessed. That failing to insist upon abundant amounts of success in the areas that we have been blessed is unethical. Every single one of you were put on this earth for a divine purpose. And I'm not making this a religious thing. I'm not. It's a divine purpose. Whatever you believe, there is a reason for your existence. You are here right now in this place for a purpose. And we can get in our own way by focusing on the wrong things, right? But when you look at your success as an ethical responsibility to you, your family, and your company, then it changes the way you look at your day and you design it and you focus on it, right? And you're orderly about it. You don't give your time away to time stealers. Those can be people and things. How many of you have time stealers in your life? Can I raise both of my hands and both of my feet? I mean, but when you're crystal clear on your why, you won't give your time away to your time stealers. Ahas on that, and then we're going to close. I want to hear some ahas or revelations or gut checks or whatever it is you want to say. Did that hit home with anybody?
I'll jump in if everyone's got their tongue tied again.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yes, and after our conversation not too long ago, I got back some precious time in my life by eliminating news, television news out of my life. Now I've found very interesting things on YouTube and YouTube with the AI that's in it. You know, the more you watch of certain things, it gives you on the recommended line. It's like amazing the things you can learn. And guess who showed up there last night, guys? And this is pretty wild. I did not know that Grant Cardone had YouTube channels and different things, but he's big time real estate investor. And he's just purchased 2 different properties in Naples, one for 70 million and another one and it's out there on YouTube. It's a recent video and I found it interesting. So I know what that gentleman looks like now. And
Awesome.
he's in Miami, and he's talking about, it was a cool video. I'd recommend everybody watch it. But, you know, he's definitely bullish on our Florida real estate market for sure, and investing heavily all around us here. And
Awesome.
it was very, very interesting. But I'm, you know, got rid of news, which does nothing for me. And I'm learning so much, even in the last few weeks. Interesting what I'm learning about technology, where things are going. Very useful information, I think, particularly for us. You know, we have to be everything from a psychologist to a, you know, economist to a banker to a lawyer, as you know, to serve our clients better. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm getting better and better and better to be able to provide a better service for my clients. And at the same time, I'm in a better space in my head. So I highly recommend it. There you go.
So Jim, again, thank you. Did you guys get value out of that? That was awesome, right? Here's the thing, what Jim is saying. You have habits and time stealers of habits in your life that is taking you away from growing and enriching your soul and feeding your soul and feeding your mind. And whatever those things are, be it tied to this phone and every single blip that comes up on it, or whatever it is, if it is not serving you to expand and learn more and see more and improve and just grow, then eliminate it. Jim and I sat down and we said, okay, what is this mentally doing to you, and how can you do things differently? And I have to give all the credit to Jim, because you can say you want it, but it's putting it into action where you receive the true success. And Jim, congratulations, you put it into action. So here's what I'd like for everyone to do today. Is tomorrow we're going to be talking about there is no shortage of success. So we are going to be ramping back up into non-scarcity thought. We took a little bit of a break today and brought it down because I really wanted you guys to get a real gut check on the fact that we are in control of our thoughts. We are in control of our decisions, and we are in control of our choices. And it's how we view and see the success in other people that will determine how we view the success in ourselves. And it will determine what we reach and what goals we reach in our life. All right. And so today I'd like for you to jot down, what are your time stealers? What are the things that are not serving you in your purpose, that are keeping you in a state of overwhelm? Where are your actions and your thought processes not lining up with your divine purpose in life? And how is that impacting you and others around you? And then the next step is to put things in action to move on from it and make a change. Jim made one change. He stopped news, and he changed that into choosing what he watched. One change that will have a profound effect on the rest of his life, especially his 2021. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for showing up. This is awesome. I hope you got something out of this. And I look forward to seeing you bright and early tomorrow morning at 8:30 on Friday. On Friday. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.